April 29, 1945. Milan's Piazzale, Loreto. Photographs of a dictator's corpse hanging upside down circled the globe within hours. But the cameras missed what happened next. At a lakeside villa 90 miles north, a woman refused to pack her bags. In Switzerland, a daughter clutched documents that could destroy what remained of the Axis. In a German convoy stopped at a border checkpoint, two sons hid under military coats with no country left to claim them. The execution lasted seconds. The disintegration of the family took decades, and almost no one knows how it actually ended. What actually happened to the family members who carried the most infamous name in Italy? By 1943, Mussolini had become something he once despised: a puppet. The Italian Social Republic, headquartered at Salo on Lake Garda, existed only because German tanks surrounded it. April 1945. Partisan forces tightened their grip on every mountain pass. Allied divisions pushed relentlessly northward. The German retreat accelerated into chaos. Mussolini joined a German convoy fleeing toward Switzerland. Near the village of Dongo, partisans stopped the vehicles at a checkpoint. The next afternoon, outside Villa Belmonte, Colonel Valerio raised his weapon. The execution lasted minutes. But across northern Italy, the Mussolini family had already scattered. Sons hiding in military transports, a daughter beyond the Swiss border, a wife refusing every order to flee. While Mussolini was being executed, his wife made a decision that would define the rest of her life. Rachele Mussolini watched the convoy leave without her. Advisors had begged her to flee. German officers offered protection across the border. She refused every appeal. While her husband raced toward the Swiss frontier, she remained at the villa. The woman who had stood beside Il Duce for decades chose to face whatever came next, alone. Allied forces arrested her near Como within days. Interrogators pressed her about hidden regime assets, gold reserves, Swiss bank accounts, documents that could implicate surviving fascist officials. She gave them nothing. After her release, Rachele returned to Predapio, the small town in Romagna where the Mussolini family had originated. No pension, no protection, no apologies from the state that had once elevated her to the pinnacle of Italian society. She opened a restaurant. She gave tours to the curious visitors who arrived seeking remnants of the regime. And for 34 years, until her death in 1979, she defended her husband's memory without revision or regret. The woman who refused to flee spent 3 decades in poverty, working as a tour guide in the shadow of a legacy the world had condemned. But Rachele's suffering was nothing compared to what her daughter Etta endured, a betrayal signed by her own father. Etta Mussolini Ciano had occupied the center of fascist society. Her husband, Galeazzo Ciano, served as foreign minister, the regime's diplomatic face to the world. They had embodied the dynasty's future. Then came the Grand Council vote, July 1943. As Allied forces pushed through Sicily, party leaders gathered to determine Mussolini's fate. Ciano voted against his father-in-law. The regime collapsed. Mussolini was arrested, then rescued by German commandos and reinstalled as a puppet. Ciano was captured. Etta begged her father for clemency. He refused. January 11th, 1944, firing squad, Verona. Mussolini had chosen to remove enemies of the revolution permanently, even when that enemy was married to his daughter. Etta fled to Switzerland in 1944, carrying Ciano's diaries, documents containing explosive Axis diplomatic secrets. The papers detailed meetings, betrayals, strategic failures. They could destroy what remained of the fascist network. When she returned to Italy in 1945, authorities arrested her immediately. The tribunal sentenced her to 2 years on Lipari Island for collaboration with fascism. The woman whose father had ordered her husband's execution now served time for supporting the regime that had killed him. While Etta was in exile, the sons were scattered across continents, trying to outrun a name that had become poison. Bruno Mussolini died in 1941 at age 27 while testing a Piaggio P-108 bomber. Witnesses reported it was the only time they ever saw Mussolini weep publicly. The surviving sons scattered. Vittorio fled to Argentina after 1945, finding refuge under Juan Perón's protection. He worked in the film industry, keeping his head down, waiting for the world to forget. Romano took a different path entirely. The youngest son became a world-renowned jazz pianist, his hands creating beauty where his father's legacy had created destruction. He married into Sophia Loren's family, bridging political infamy with cinematic royalty. The Mussolini name transformed from symbol of totalitarian power to footnote in celebrity genealogy. But there were other children the world never knew about. Mussolini's first wife, Ida Dalser, and their son, Benito Albino, had been institutionalized in psychiatric asylums, erased from official fascist records while the regime built its mythology. Ida died in 1937 at age 56. Albino died in 1942 at age 25. Both deaths occurred behind locked doors, in facilities where questions weren't asked and visitors weren't allowed. The regime had removed them from power permanently, not through execution, but through institutional erasure. But even death couldn't end Mussolini's story. His body was about to begin an 11-year odyssey. After the public spectacle at Piazzale Loreto, authorities buried Mussolini in an unmarked grave at Musocco Cemetery. No headstone, no ceremony. The goal was simple: prevent the formation of a cult around the dictator's remains. 1946. Neo-fascist raiders led by Domenico Licisi broke into the cemetery and stole the body. They vanished with the remains into the Italian countryside. For 11 years, Mussolini's corpse remained hidden in a monastery. The government knew approximately where it was, but feared that recovering it would trigger political instability during a revolutionary crisis when the leadership believed they couldn't allow enemies of the revolution to regroup. 1957. A fragile coalition needed far-right votes to survive. The Italian government finally reinterred Mussolini's remains in Predappio, trading the burial for political support. The dictator had been executed 12 years earlier, but his bones had become currency in the same democracy that had replaced his regime. That 1957 decision would create a pilgrimage site that still draws thousands today. Today, Predappio has transformed into a pilgrimage destination, attracting thousands of sympathizers annually. Shops openly sell fascist memorabilia and Mussolini souvenirs, wine bottles with his face, calendars, busts, flags. The crypt receives a steady stream of visitors. Some come out of historical curiosity, others come to salute. Granddaughter Alessandra Mussolini served in the European Parliament, demonstrating the family name's persistent political influence nearly 80 years after the dictator's death. The final generation passed in sequence: Etta in 1995, Vittorio in 1997, Romano in 2006. As of 2026, all direct descendants from Mussolini's World War II-era family are deceased. The bloodline that once commanded an empire, that watched its patriarch hang upside down in Milan, that scattered across continents in desperation, that line has ended, but the name endures. The pilgrims still come, the shops still sell. The question remains, can a name ever truly die? Imprisonment, exile, asylum deaths, stolen bodies, jazz clubs and European Parliament seats. The Mussolini family's post-war fates reveal something darker than execution: the cost of carrying history's most infamous surnames. Some names survive. The world they built doesn't.